is a variety of different types of family law, guardianships, probate, a couple dependency cases, and then the straightforward family law like divorces and that sort of thing. When I first got out of school, I litigated international tax cases at the world's biggest law firm in Chicago. And so when I moved back here, along with having to take the Florida bar, I had to figure out what kind of law I was going to practice because there's none of that kind of work here. So I reinvented myself, if you will, just to become a regular commercial litigator. And that's it. I started to talk a little bit about the community, if you want me to elaborate.
Yes, please, okay. Please, so that they get to know you.
Okay. I'm on the Budget Advisory Board for the City of Ormond Beach. I was appointed to the board, I think, beginning of last year. I am the president of the Tiger Bay Club, which you and I are both on that board together. I am a Rotarian, as you mentioned. I am the legal counsel for the Ormond Beach Historic Society. I just came off the board of the Ormond Chamber. I was a bit overwhelmed, and I knew I was going to be running a campaign. So I'm also a soccer coach. I've coached my girls' soccer teams for probably 6 or 8 years now. And then I just came off the Seabreeze High School School Advisory Council, but I'm rotating on to the Spruce Creek SAC committee because my son is in school there and my daughter graduated from Seabreeze already.
Oh, okay.
So I keep busy.
Now, our prior candidate is an incumbent, but you, is this your first effort in getting into a judicial seat?
I have previously applied to be appointed to a judicial seat, but this is my first effort at campaigning for any sort of office, and it's been quite an experience. It's been good, a lot of hard work, especially covering 4 counties, which is very, very tough. But it's been a really good experience. I've met a lot of really great people, learned about different areas of the community that I didn't even know existed. It's been a tremendous, tremendous learning experience for me.
Now, what made you decide to run?
There's, as Judge McGlashan mentioned, there's a lot of turnover. We had, we're going to have, I think, 6 new circuit court judges by the end of this year. The ones that are being elected or filled through the election process, I should say, and then we already have 3 new circuit judges who haven't taken the bench yet. What we really need, in my opinion, is a judge who has a really strong business background. As I mentioned, I litigate only civil cases. I kind of have the exact opposite career of Judge McGlashan. And I litigate business cases. I've got a degree in accounting, and I litigated tax cases. So I focus exclusively on issues that have to do with numbers and business ideas, I guess. And we have not had historically a lot of judges that have that type of background, and it's a background that's helpful in not only just on the civil bench, but it's helpful in divorce cases where there's assets to be divided and things like that. And so that's where I thought that I could fill a void, especially since we're having the turnover. As you mentioned, I'm not trying to take the seat that's currently going to be occupied.
Right. You've mentioned your background and experience and your community involvements as well. What is it that you feel makes you the best candidate? Okay.
I think I have the right combination of the legal experience and legal background, as well as the life experience that's necessary. And on top of that, I've got the integrity and the ethics to back it up. I'm very much the kind of person that what you see is what you get. I'm not the kind of person who's going to be taking any shortcuts for any friends or family members. Everybody who comes in front of me is going to get a fair deal, and they're going to be treated equally, whether they have an attorney or not. And so that's what I really think we need. We need somebody who's got backbone, strong moral code, especially when you hear all these horror stories recently about judges having relationships with attorneys in front of them and beating people up and all sorts of things. It's kind of crazy, but none of that's going to happen under my watch.
Now, I was able to go to the website for Judge McGlashan, and and I was able to, of course, see a lot of his supporters and the like. I've not actually been able to go to yours. I'm not sure if you have one, right?
I do.
Okay, share that with our listeners.
Okay, it's KathyWestonForJudge.com.
Okay. What is it that people who are supporting you are, we're going to allow you to kind of share what what they call that, third party information or something.
Okay.
But share what those who are supporting you, what they are saying about you.
Okay. Yeah, I would be really happy to do that. One of the things that I'm most proud of is I have 7 retired judges who have endorsed me. I'm so proud of that, and I've never even heard of that happening where that many judges have come together to support a candidate. Judge Grimes said some really wonderful things about me, said that I had the right temperament, the right work ethic, that I was always very professional and respectful to everyone in the courtroom, including the bailiff and the clerk, the witnesses, my client, opposing counsel, the other client. Judge Grimes just said some amazing things about me.
Well, he's a friend, so it's good to hear.
Yeah. But Mayor Ed Kelly from the city of Ormond Beach has also endorsed me. I've known him for many years, and I've been very involved in the city of Ormond. I don't know that I have a specific quote, but the support that I'm getting is pretty overwhelming from people that know me, have worked with me, or whether it's an actual work capacity or in some sort of volunteer.
Let me do a station identification real quick. You're listening to Truth with Gwen Azama-Edwards. We have a 2-part show tonight with judicial candidates, and the current candidate is Kathy Weston, who is an attorney, and she's running for the 7th Judicial Circuit Court position. And Kathy is sharing information concerning herself, her community experience and involvements, which are several, her experience, and also her endorsements that she has received. And as she has stated, she's gotten a lot of support from judges, and these are judges that are both on and off the bench, or these are retired judges?
These are retired judges.
Yeah, because they couldn't really do it.
Exactly.
Right.
Current judges aren't allowed to take a position on any candidate, even the incumbents, I believe.
Yes, because really they're real strict, as I'm sure our listeners know, in terms of judicial candidates. There are just certain ways that you can actually even query them in terms of anything, and the only query you can make really is about themselves, them talking about themselves and sharing that. But this is WLE 1380 AM on your radio dial in Ormond Beach, Florida. It's also BIG 1380 AM. And this is Goliath Radio. And again, it's Truth with Gwen Azama-Edwards. And my guest is Kathy Weston. I should say attorney Kathy Weston. If for those who do not know you, you've talked about how others see you, other comments that they have made and the like. How would you, if you were introducing yourself to someone, what would you say about you as a way of helping them to get to know you better?
Okay, I would say that I think I would describe my greatest success as how I've raised my 4 kids. I've been a single mom for about 10 years now, although I do have a wonderful fiance. And my kids have turned out to be wonderful. They're successful, they're involved in the community. I try to get them to volunteer, although they don't do it to the extent that I do. But that's my, I guess, greatest success and my greatest love and pride is my children. After that, the community is the next thing that means the most to me, and that's in part because I want to show my kids that this is how you lead a good life as an adult. You help others, you help your community, and you always do the right thing. And so that's how I would really describe myself, is I just try to always do the right thing and always make good decisions. I'm not perfect by any means, and I do make mistakes, but when I make a mistake, I learn from it, and by golly, I won't make it again.
Well, I know from firsthand that you really are a hard worker, and you're a person who gets involved in whatever it is that you're tied to. You've demonstrated that with Tiger Bay, with that organization, And are you involved also with the young, what do they call them?
The Young Professionals
Young
groups?
professionals, yeah.
No, not currently.
Mhm.
I was involved, a couple of my partners were very involved in getting the organizations off the ground, and so I try to make it occasionally, but more often than not, I do not make it.
Yes, okay.
Plus, I'm at the point where I don't really know that I qualify as young at this point.
I know I never did qualify with their group, but you mentioned 4 counties. There are 4 counties that are involved in this that will get to actually vote on this position. That's because it is a circuit judge position. Share with our listeners those 4 counties. And again, this vote comes up August 26th, as do all judicial positions, right?
Right.
Yes, they're all handled during the primary election.
Right. So the 4 counties are Volusia, Flagler, Putnam, and St. John's, and all of the voters in all 4 counties can vote. The reality, although I could be assigned after the election to a seat in any of those counties, the greater likelihood is that the seat would be here in Volusia, whether it's Daytona or DeLand.
And the retirees, I know that the prior judge, that he did get into that a little bit, but those judges that have left have basically retired.
That's
like Judge, our judge friend Hubert Grimes, and this leaves vacancies. Now, there are one of 2 ways that an individual can become a judge, right?
right. There's 2 ways. It's either by election or by appointment, and how the position is filled depends on when the prior judge's term ended. So, for example, when Judge Grimes retired, he retired in the middle of a term or prior to the end of his term. So his position was filled by an appointment by the governor. The same thing is true as of Judge David Beck's seat that Dave Hood was appointed to. The other positions, the retirements are effective as of the end of the year, and that's one of the seats that I'm running for. I'm running for the seat that Judge Robert Rouse currently occupies. Yeah, so there's, it's very confusing even to the attorneys. In fact, I have to admit, I didn't understand how all of it worked until the beginning of this year when I was really looking into everything.
I believe I had an opportunity of, when I did a citizenship thing, of having Judge Rouse actually speak to us, I think, and he really, I have to say, in terms of himself and the few of the other judges that I'm aware of who are retiring, they had such passion and love for not just being a judge, but what the position should engender in terms of helping other people. And that in itself, as Judge McGlashan had said, is a great loss. It's a great loss for the community, and it's great if what we see coming on board are those who have that same kind of love, same kind of passion for people in wanting to do what's right and being fair. What you're sharing is that the people, I guess, that you that are supporting you see you as that type of person.
Yeah, and rightfully so. That is the kind of person that I am. And one of the reasons that I put in for Judge Rouse's seat, and I was the first one to file my paperwork, so I kind of had a choice as to which position I wanted to apply for, but it had meaning, if only to me, and that was because I truly respect and admire and appreciate Judge Rouse. He's a big advocate of attorney professionalism, as am I. I think that's very important. One of the things I forgot to mention is I'm a past president of the Volusia County Bar Association. I was on that board for 6 or 7 years. And I believe fully in attorney professionalism. And I take very seriously the power that judges have, but I would never let it go to my head, as judges probably in other areas tend to do.
For those that, and I think this is something you can answer, and maybe there are multiple people, but as you think back over judges that you've either had the opportunity to address in your position as an attorney, or just those that you've known in the community, and you could say a lot of them, but are there 1 or 2 judges that kind of come to mind that to you represent the epitome of what you think of when you think of a great judge?
Yeah. There's. I'll go with 2 that I can think of. One is Judge Grimes. I am new to the family law area of law. As I mentioned, I litigated business cases exclusively before that. So when I first appeared in front of Judge Grimes a couple years ago, it was very new to me to see an emotional aspect to litigation other than one of having to do with business disputes. Mm-hmm. And he handled his courtroom in a manner that was so tremendously kind to the people that were involved. Yeah. And he was so professional and so caring and compassionate. And I was just stunned to see that in litigation because, again, it was all new to me. But I thought it was a wonderful way for a judge to handle himself and, mm-hmm. and one that inspired me to someday do this. Mm-hmm. And then I think the other example is probably Judge Terry Perkins. When I first moved down here, I worked at Smith Hood Perkins. And I didn't work directly with Judge Perkins, but he had a tremendous reputation of being a very ethical attorney, a very smart attorney, very hardworking and very good at what he did. And so when I got to see the process going on of his appointment and seeing that truly the best person was appointed to that position and it was him, and I've seen him rise up and he's now the chief administrative judge. He was elected by all of his peers. And I've appeared in front of him numerous times too. It's, again, very inspiring just to see how good it is when the right person has the job. Mm-hmm. Everything falls into place in terms of everything being fair, everybody being treated with respect, and everybody feeling like they're getting a fair shot in the courtroom. And that's the way it should be. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You had mentioned that it has been interesting going around and campaigning and the like, but I'm sure there are sometimes that it's not quite so interesting and it can be a bit tiring as well. Are there comments that you've heard in terms of running for a judicial seat that have shocked you in terms of how people view the judiciary?
Yeah, I think there are. I think there's a perception by a lot of people, and I can't generalize whether it's females or males or mm-hmm. people that live in a certain area, but there's a perception that a lot of what goes on in a courtroom is not fair, and that a lot of things happen in terms of agreements made outside the courtroom. And that's one thing that I would love to set straight once I'm elected is to make sure people understand what's going on. I think a lot of times when people aren't represented, they don't have an attorney, whether they can't afford it or whatever reason, they assume that the deck is stacked against them and they assume that they're not going to get a fair shake. And I would work very hard to make sure that they understand that that's not the case. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So do you think that well, maybe I shouldn't ask you that. I'm thinking that I'll just make this statement myself, that many times I think the big name trials are the ones that can make or break how people view the judiciary. And as far as the judges are concerned. And sometimes even what they view on TV is like the CSI kind of syndrome, where people see police do certain things on TV with CSI, the crime scene investigators, and they expect that the police officers are going to be able to do it the same way with having all that fancy equipment and, be able to do it like lickety-split real quick. And that's not how it works really in real life. Right.
And so a lot of what we see on TV and we come to expect is the case in real life is really not truly the case. And I think sometimes too that can mislead people in terms of their mindset of how they see judges, those that are running as well as those that are already in office. Let's say that election day is passed and you are the winner. What are some of the first or second things that you're going to do upon winning?
Okay. The first thing that I need to do is to make sure that I am absolutely up to speed on whatever area of law I end up covering. Because what I didn't mention earlier is that even though I put my paperwork in for what is now a civil seat, that could change. After the election, the chief administrative judge, whether it's Judge Perkins or perhaps somebody else at that point, will look at the empty seats and will work with the newly elected or appointed judges to figure out who is best suited for which seat. So there's a possibility I could be doing guardianship work. There's a possibility I could be doing dependency work. I could end up anywhere. And if it's in an area like criminal law, I'm going to need to do some more work to get up to speed in that area. So that's going to be my first priority. I think the second priority is going to be trying to figure out what changes can be made to expedite people's access to justice. One of the biggest problems that we have, and I think it's on both the criminal and civil side, is that it takes so darn long to get in front of a judge to get any sort of relief. I've had it take sometimes up to 3 months just to get a 15-minute hearing, and that's just not acceptable. People aren't getting justice in a timely manner. And so I think that I know there are some steps that have already been taken to try to expedite things, but my approach would be to look at everything and ask why we do things the way we do, and if the answer is this is how we've always done it, then that to me raises a red flag that maybe there's a better way.
That would be awesome, because people are supposed to be guaranteed a speedy trial, and we know it doesn't always work out that way. Awesome. Let me ask you, in terms of, you mentioned being a single parent and raising your 4 children. And hi, Mr. Your fiance, hi. In terms of being a single parent, and there are those who would say, well, when you become a judge, that involves a lot of time. Now, your children, I would suppose, have become very understanding of you, mama, in the workforce. Because my kids had to do the same thing in between marriages. I was raising my 2 sons as well, alone. But they come to accept that mama's going to be gone sometimes, etc. And they actually come to have a great deal of respect for you as well, in terms of the professionalism in regards to doing your job. And the fact that you're doing it, mama's doing it, mama's taking care of business. Do your children have that kind of a viewpoint of you in the workaday world, so to speak?
It's tough to say that. I've got 2 teenagers and 2 almost teenagers. So it's I don't think would be very quick to admit that they respect, but I think that they really do. And my oldest, who just got into Embry-Riddle, who got a full academic scholarship,
awesome,
is talking about going to law school, and she wants to get into politics and maybe run for president. And one of the aspects about having kids that have been raised the way my kids are is that they're pretty comfortable talking to adults, and they're pretty comfortable in social situations that have been thrust upon them. They were all 4 of them very encouraging, as was my fiance and the rest of my extended family, about me running for judge. Not only because they agreed that it was the right thing to do and I was the right person for the job, but just because they knew it was going to help the community, I guess, the 7th Circuit. So the kids have been great. I'm looking forward to putting them to work maybe full-time during early voting.
Oh, wonderful, wonderful. Now, in our last few minutes, if you could share again, for those who would like to support you, how best to contact you to become a part of the campaign, again, your website, and then any closing comments you'd like to share.
Okay. My website, again, is kathywestonforjudge.com. Like Judge McGlashan, I have a Facebook page, and my Facebook page is getting a lot of activity, which is pretty cool to see how technology is, I think, changing this whole process.
It does.
I have a Twitter too, which is it's Weston for Judge, so you can follow me on Twitter. If you'd like to get involved in my campaign, you can either contact me at work, or there's a contact email button, I guess, if you will, on the website where people can contact me. But I do need help. I don't have a whole, $130,000 or $40,000 to put into my campaign like one of my colleagues did, and so I need help. I need grassroots help, people that want to wear a Weston for Judge T-shirt and stand at a polling place during early voting, or just want to put signs out. I need all the help I can get, and I appreciate all the help I can get too.
Wonderful. So the best way that they can contact you is to go to the website. Or you said there's a number that they can also call.
Yeah, they can, well, they can call me at the office, and that number is 323-9276, and then they can also use my Cobb Cole email address too, which is Kathy.Weston, W-E-S-T-O-N, @cobbcole.com.
Okay. That's key and important because time is winding down.
It is.
The
We're almost
election
30
again,
days.
yes, the election again is August 26th, and early voting starts about 10 days from that. Of course, the weekend before, they do not have the ability to vote, but prior to that, that first weekend they do. Well, I said 10 days. Actually, I guess it's 2 weeks out, but it's actually 10 days of those 2 weeks that they are actually able to do early voting.
Correct. And the dates are different for each of the 4 counties, so I can't remember the date off the top of my head. I think it's August 14th, but I could be wrong.
But you can go to the website of the Supervisor of Elections, or you can call them or whatever. The other thing is that people can request absentee ballots so that they can go ahead and vote that way. And so as soon as those ballots are complete, they would be able to send them out to you. You can, not only the absentee ballot, you can do the early voting. You can also go to the polls on election day, again, August 26th from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Of course, they need to check their counties too, because some counties have differing times. They actually allowed the supervisors of elections to decide if they were going to do the 10 days of the 14, all of the 14, and what the time period would be also for voting. So it may be different depending upon the county that the individuals reside in. So guys, be sure to check that as well. But I'm sure you would join me in saying to all of our potential voters that they need to get registered, and that time is winding down when they can. They need to, if they're registered, be sure to vote. Many times people don't want to vote in a primary election. They want to wait until a big deal. But there are a lot of offices that will be decided in the primary election, not only the judicial offices, but also the school board seats, and some municipal elections also will take place then, especially if you have more than 2 people running. They have their primary election during that time too. So it does not come down to, for these offices, what your party affiliation is, and those who are no party affiliation, you can vote in this election. So please, 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 please vote. Again, give you a chance for any final comments before we go off the air.
Okay. I just want to thank everybody in advance for their support, and everybody who's supporting me so far. This has been a great experience, and I will make you proud as a judge.
All right. Thank you, Kathy. Again, this is Truth with Gwen Azama-Edwards. My guest tonight, Attorney Kathy Weston. My prior guest was incumbent county judge running for re-election, Judge Peter McGlashan. And again, Kathy Weston is running for the 7th Judicial Circuit Court position. And again, a reminder to all of you, please, 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 please vote August 26th, or early voting or by absentee. It's important that you vote. A lot of people have died to give you this opportunity, so please, please, please take advantage of it. Again, this has been Truth with Gwen Azama-Edwards, and like all of you, we're still standing. You be blessed and have a great week.
With your host, Gwen Azama-Edwards, exclusively every Thursday night.
Thank you so much for having me.
WLE 13.